This is another Disney podcast production.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of Another Disney Podcast. This is episode 24 for the week of June 18th. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get to it.
So it just hit me after we did that open that 24, Jack Bauer.
Oh,
yes. Is he too old for us to do that again? I feel like no.
I don't think he's ever going to be too old to be on 24. Like Jack Bauer can always whoop up on some Russians or some whatever made up country they have. But no, we need some more Jack Bauer. I agree.
I do have a request. I was a big fan of his daughter, Alicia Cuthbert. I probably just murdered her last name.
Yes.
Like, I was a big fan of her. Like, she has to come back and maybe she could take over where her dad was, and it would be like the new version of Alias.
Okay. Although I did read a story on Twitter the other day, and she was like one of the 24 actors that Hollywood will never work with again.
Oh, dear.
I don't know why. Apparently she's super difficult to work with. So,
well,
maybe there won't be a Jack Bauer S.
Dreams crushed.
Dreams crushed. Sorry, I'm the dream crusher.
There it is. Hey, man, you've had a interesting week. You have something different. Well, you've lost a piece of you. I have
lost. Well, it wasn't originally a piece of me, but it was a piece that grew in me. I had a cyst in my wrist. I had surgery on Monday. So yeah, it's been a super fun week. Surgery on Monday. Lots of pain meds. I may or may not even remember what we talk about tonight. So this will be fun.
This is true. I called you the night of the surgery to check in. And then I told you some stuff that your wife was very interested in. And 10 minutes later, she had to call me and say, Brandon said you said something and he can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that conversation. So my apologies.
I don't remember either, and I'm not taking any meds. So there you go.
There you go.
Okay, man. So let's chat about.
Let's chat.
Let's talk about just the big umbrella of Disney. So obviously, I mean, it's the understatement, literally, of the century to say how much has changed. But I want to talk about the fact that It was announced this week that nighttime entertainment was coming back. And I guess I should say specifically fireworks will begin at July 1st in two of the three parks that had fireworks. So it will be Happily Ever After at Magic Kingdom, and it will be Epcot Forever, not Harmonious, at Epcot. And so that is the nighttime festivities that are back. And so I just immediately upon reading that, of course, instant excitement and thrilled for you guys to be able to experience that, because we will just miss it again. That's just how our trip planning goes. And so, but what piqued my interest is okay, what does that mean? That was the first thing that I found myself asking out loud. And so what I mean by that is I want to talk about now the future, right? So I feel like this is the closest that I would say Disney will have been back to being normal. And why I say that, gosh, we didn't even talk about Disneyland, because they've dropped their mask mandate outside. They are having fireworks coming back the first week of July. And that show is actually really rad. I've seen it before. Yeah. I'm not going to say the name because I'm not going to remember it, but it's really cool. They make use of, the buildings all along Main Street as well as the castle. So there's projections all around you. It's really dope. So anyway, I wanted to say, who doesn't love speculating, right? Let's talk about
speculating's great.
The future, right? I mean, because you're talking, I want to talk about the future of fast passes, the future of the reservation system, meaning when can Brandon and Krista just wake up and say, hey, let's go to Disney Day today, and they can get a reservation and get it. Well, they can log in, go for a reservation, get one, and go. So I want to talk about that. Or, because they have announced that it's going to be here until 2023, but they also said that Boo Bash, you're going to have to wear masks, and now there's no more masks. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we do have to realize that things can change in an instant. However, correct. We'll unpack that when we get there, because I don't think this reservation system is going anywhere, maybe even not at the end of 2022, but we'll unpack that. And then, of course, what about parades? And then the big one that's on, I would say, a little bit more of the West Coast, and, of course, internationally over in Paris, is they still don't have annual passes. Now, to be fair, Walt Disney World doesn't have them either, but like, if you have them, you can still keep using them and renewing them. At Disneyland Paris, if you have one, when it runs out, it runs out. That literally happened this week. And of course, Disneyland yanked theirs a while ago, gave everybody refunds, and has yet to announce what that's going to happen. So I just have questions. And so let's kind of unpack where we think all of that's going to go. And so my first question to you, Brandon, is as somebody who, there was definitely a time in my life where I felt going to Disney without a fast pass was a nightmare. But now that it's gone, A, do you think it will come back? And B, if and when it does come back, will it look like it did before?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with you. When fast passes were around, I mean, I was like, how in the world would we do a park without a fast pass? I hate standing in line. I hate waiting for things, obviously. And a fast pass just made it easier to sort of plan your day. I mean, you could kind of say, hey, we're going to be in Fantasyland for the morning, and then we can roll over to Tomorrowland, and, you know, we got that day planned out. But now that I've experienced life without fast passes, I actually think I like it a little bit better. I like being able to spontaneously go on a ride, and still not have to wait forever to do it. So obviously, if they're not letting fast pass people in, then obviously the standby line moves quicker. Now, if you're in a line that's 40 minutes long and it continuously moves, and you're with people and you're talking and you're, you know, having a good time, it doesn't seem like you're waiting that long. So, I mean, I kind of like there not being fast passes, but again, we're not at 100% capacity. So what does that look like when the park gets to 100% capacity? Do our 40-minute lines now become 85-minute lines? And I mean, whether it's moving or not, 85 minutes is 85 minutes. That's a long time to wait in line. So, you know, for now, at the capacity limit they're at, I would say it's awesome. I think we're going to have to take a wait and see kind of approach when we get to full capacity or fuller capacity to see how that works without a fast pass. Yeah,
I saw on Blog Mickey today that they replenished some July dates, so the calendar was kind of wide open again, and so that tells me that's another bump in capacity, or maybe not another bump. They just maybe, I remember when they opened up June, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, and so maybe now they've just, you know, we're a week and a half away from July, so they're going to, you know, open that. And I wonder if this might be the biggest increment so far, just because they announced the fireworks at, you know, 2 of the 4 parks. So that's something to consider. Yeah. So for Fast Pass, for me, I'm with you. Like, so I have enjoyed not doing it. And so I'll be honest, and Brandon will know because he lives there. I think I have utilized my annual pass more since COVID, because I enjoy the more spontaneity versus now look, it's impossible to go to Disney World without planning. I mean, or it isn't, but you're nuts if you don't do it. Especially now you have to, because you got to get a park reservation. So you can't just like roll down to Orlando and think, oh, let's go to Disney today and walk up. Like, the odds are not going to be in your favor that you're going to get to walk in. But like, I got to say, I have loved the kind of wing it feel that Disney has had during this. And I am just more like that. When I come, I'm usually only bringing one of our kids, or if my wife lets me escape down for a few days by myself and we get to spend a few park days together, or I'll come down with Matthew, whatever. I've enjoyed not having to be like, okay, we got to get to the park for this, because for our first Fast Pass, and here's our dinner reservation that we made 180 days ago. So like, we'd be foolish to get rid of it now. So I'm with you. I've liked not having it, but then there's the big comma with the lower numbers in the park.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of a wait and see. But then on the flip side, the other question that I asked you was about, do we think it's going to come back like it was previously? I don't think it will.
Yeah,
what do
I don't
you think?
I think it's going to come back, and I think it's going to come back. I mean, all signs are pointing towards the fact that this is going to be a paid extra that you can get. I see maybe a hybrid where maybe you could get you get your first 3 Fast Passes, and if you want more throughout the day, then you would pay X amount of dollars for those extra Fast Passes. So I do not think that it's going to look the same. I think the system, whatever tech system they come up with, is going to look completely different, but it's not going to be the same as it was pre-pandemic. I don't think so.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that, because there's been some things that I think have given some people, I don't want to say false hope, I'll just say hope. And that is, some people, when they were making their reservations and they were going through that, there was the page that popped up. It was like, hey, it's time to select your Fast Passes. And of course, when you clicked on it, that page went nowhere. It wasn't like a glitch of, these are opening and they just haven't released it. No, I think it was literally a glitch in the matrix.
It was a glitch.
And so when I think about that, I'm in agreement with you. And there's been some really interesting rumors as of late. And so I'll say, I always like to say when I talk about rumors, some of the rumors that we talk about are like trustworthy inside sources, and some of them are just like, here's what some people have said, and like, take it or leave it. This is one of those, here's what some people have said, take it or leave it. This is not solid inside information. And what that is there's been a lot of rumblings of something called the Lightning Pass. Have you heard about that?
I have. I've heard a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, and what's crazy is it's like, it's modeled after the genie. And so I immediately had questions. I was like, you're going to go with lightning and go with the genie when you have Lightning McQueen? Are we sure? So that's what first made me feel like, I don't know if that's a legit one, but because if you're familiar with Universal has something just like this. It is a paid tier. The whole idea is, so you don't want to wait in line, you can pay. Yeah. Now, my concern is the price. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean that I'm scared it's going to be too much. I'm scared it's going to not be enough. So here's what I want. I want it to start at no less, and here, I know the eggs are going to come right now.
Oh, no.
I want it to start at no less than $100 a person per day. I would love to see it at upwards of $300. Now, I know that sounds insane.
That's a lot.
Here's the deal. Here's why. Like, because if they go and they charge $50 a day for Fast Pass or whatever, it's going to be like it was before, and it will have defeated the purpose.
Yeah. Like, everybody will pay $50 to have extra Fast Pass.
The idea should be of Disney wanting to keep the parks fluid, so they don't have these, because here's what they're not going to want. Well, let's talk about this. So this is going to go off on a little bit of a rat tail here.
A rat tail. A rat tail. What is this? The 80s?
Yes, I have one. Do you want to see? So here, all of Disney's hopes and wishes and dreams are coming true right now. And so think about what the pandemic has done, especially with a couple of our major rides, and that is virtual queues. I would expect, if I was a betting man, I would slide some of my Benjamins over to more rides, maybe even the majority of rides going to this system. And here's why. So I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a fan of this. I hope it doesn't happen. But I feel like for Disney, Here's the benefit for them. All right. So what happens when people are standing in line from anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes? They're not out in the park.
They're not buying anything.
They're not buying food. They're not buying souvenirs. They're trapped. Guess what? You make all of your lines virtual queues and you don't get called back. All these people are going to be wandering around with nowhere to go and nothing to do, and they're going to spend money.
I agree.
So I think I have a feeling that's going to happen to a majority of at least the e-ticket rides. Again,
the major stuff.
Right. I don't think it's going to happen for Winnie the Pooh. No offense to Winnie the Pooh. I don't think it's going to happen. But
no Small World virtual queue.
Yeah. Well, you never know. But or I will say, if there is a smaller ride where the majority of the queue is indoors, then maybe they would do that just, for the fact of keeping the COVID conscious mind, I guess, it doesn't make sense to pile people into a tight, small, winding area. So for health and safety concerns, I totally get it. But so now to get back on the railroad tracks of where we're going with FastPass. Yeah. I mean, I want it to be absurdly expensive so nobody gets it. And then the lines will stay at hopefully you're never waiting more than 60 minutes. Now, the other thing that we can talk about when it comes to crowds is pricing. And so I mentioned this a little bit about it last week, and we literally titled our episode is Disney, pricing out the middle class. And so maybe, I don't know. I mean, it certainly deterred us from going on our next trip the way we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Now, again, we had smaller parameters. We weren't going to go as long. We're not staying on property. All these things just make your ticket prices add up. I get it. But I kind of want the prices to keep climbing in hopes that it will keep people out. But look at the parks.
Exactly.
And look at you can't look at Boo Bash. Three-quarters of them are sold out, and people are screaming bloody murder that they're charging almost $200. Yet they're selling. They're almost all sold out.
People are paying it. I saw a meme today. I think it was on TikTok, and it was like Bob Chapek and all these things. It's like, parks increasing prices, hotels still selling out, restaurants still fully booked with limited menus. People are still going to pay for Disney. I mean, Boo Bash is a 5-hour event that people are paying $200 for. If you had a 12-hour park day and you could pay $150 and get, 12 fast passes, I would say a majority of the people are going to dish out $150 a person just to have 12 fast passes. I mean, Disney is truly taking candy from a baby. Yes. I mean, people are just throwing money at them. So I agree with you. I think that it needs to be priced high enough that just not everybody's going to do it, but I don't think it needs to be. I mean, $300 is a lot. And the thing that I'm interested in is, one, and we'll talk about annual passes later, but if you have an annual pass, will there be some sort of option to add this to your annual pass? If they said for $500 extra dollars a year, you get 10 fast passes on each visit, is that going to be some sort of option, or are you going to be left out again being an annual pass holder and have to pay for it every time you go?
Yeah. I mean, at first I was like, they'll probably do tiers, or maybe they'll offer specials for people staying in the resorts. But I just, they want to be back at 100%. And clearly there's a desire to go based on the amount of cost it is right now there were days that we were looking at going this summer where it was over $200 a day for an adult if you wanted a park hopper.
Jeez.
And you're not even park hopping till 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's transition there. So let's talk about that. Yep. Park hopping came back relatively quickly, not super fast, but relatively quickly. It was January, beginning of this year. It came back. And so what are your thoughts on, what if it stayed at 2 moving forward? Do you see value in that? Do you feel like that would be a ripoff? What do you think about how it is now?
Yeah, I mean, Krista and I were actually talking about this at dinner tonight. as we talked about, they opened up more availability. The parks are getting closer and closer back to full capacity. Now, I think as long as the reservation system stays around, the park hopping is going to be at 2:00. Because, as we've talked about on our show before, the reservation system is a way to measure the amount of people that are going to be in each park for the day, for staffing and for merchandise and things like that. So I think in order to get people, because you have to go obviously check in to your first park before you can get to the second one, I feel like they go hand in hand. If we're going to have the reservation system, you have to give people time to get to the park before everyone can start hopping. So I would love to see it go back to the old way. Like if I just wanted to go get a picture on Main Street in front of the castle at 9 a.m. and then jump to Animal Kingdom, I would love to be able to do that. But I don't think that while the reservation system is around that it'll happen.
Yeah. And so I'm on both sides of the fence on this one, if that's even possible. I guess I'm just sitting down and I got one leg on it. Like, so I'm a fan of it right now. And why I'm a fan of it right now, and I want that to be the caveat, the right now is the part that matters. So right now, what I like about it is when you land at your park, right, you know that the people that are there that's what it's going to look like till 2 p.m. Right?
Yeah. That's your crew. For 5 hours.
And then, depending on which park that you're at, cause you got some, like, I would say like Animal Kingdom, for example, that's going to be a park that not a lot of people are going to hop to 2 p.m. Right. Like, so if I just want to do Animal Kingdom for that day, I like knowing that after 2 p.m., it's probably going to thin out pretty regularly the rest of the day. And your times are going to get better. It's going to be easier to get, like, lines are going to be shorter for food, or, well, they're all mobile order now, but you still have to wait could be up to 2 hours, depending on when you order. So I like that aspect, knowing that, like, either the park I'm in is going to get a crap ton of people starting at 2 for the rest of the day, or the park that I'm in is going to start to thin out. Like Epcot is definitely one of those that, like, it sucks that it opens at 11, because that would be a great park to do from 9 to 2, because everybody's going to flock to that one at night because it's open the latest. There's the most things to do for people. That's a park you want to get off work and go to, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Well, of course you can't do that with the park reservation thing anyway, but you get my point. So I like that aspect, but the caveat was like now, right? So when we're back at full capacity, that's when I'll have a problem with it, because it's like, if we're back and the park is wide open and we have all of our parades and we have all of our, I'm fine with making the park reservations, but there are two things that I think need to happen. One, you need to be able to wake up and make a reservation at any park at any time for any day.
Correct.
And be able to go. And two, you should be able to park hop if you wanted to land on Main Street at 9 a.m. and take a picture and then go somewhere else. And so those are the two. So that's my caveat. So I like it right now. I like it because you can kind of feel like how your park is. And then if I was like, if I'm at Animal Kingdom, it might be worth it for me to say, like, I can hit a couple more rides, and then 5 minutes before closing, let's go get in line for, Flight of Passage, because it'll be the shortest it is all day. So that's kind of my thoughts there on I guess we covered 2 there, right? We covered fast passes and whatever, and park hopping. And
I mean, I agree. Well, I mean, if you think about it, even if the reservation system is there, I mean, now that you say that, when the park's at full capacity, aside from New Year's Eve, maybe, the park is never full.
Right.
So, I mean, even though that there is a reservation system, in theory, you should be able to wake up that morning and say, I want to go to Magic Kingdom today, and hit the reservation and go. So, I mean, I can see it going both ways, but if truly the reason to keep the reservation system is to measure the amount of people, you also want to be able to measure the amount of people in the park up into a certain time. So that's what I think that 2:00 is. Like, hey, we know that X thousands of people are going to be at Magic Kingdom today for at least 5 hours. That's when we staff most of our people.
Right.
And then, so that's why I say I don't think it's going anywhere as long as reservations are around, but I think you will be able to get a reservation that morning if you want to go, or that day at work if you want to go.
Yeah, that needs to happen as soon as things are as close to whatever normal will be like moving forward at any Disney park. And so I do want to talk about that a little deeper. And so like, I think I didn't look this up before the show. I should have, but I think that original announcement way long time ago was that reservations, like where if somebody looked at the calendar, and I think it was up to like the first couple of weeks of January of 2023. So we know it's that far. And so here's why I think that's not going anywhere, even potentially after that. And that is a great measurable system that Disney has never had before. Now, some people are going to say, well, Dave, what about fast passes? Fast passes were like that. Yes, but fast pass, because people were pinpointing. Matthew actually said this today. He said, like, not only do they know what park you're in, they know where you're going to be at within a certain, down to a certain hour. I'm like, yes, but the thing is, you can change fast passes all the time after your first three. Like, that's still not the best measurable. And why I think this reservation system is so valuable is it will help them with staffing. Like they'll know what parks are insane on what days and be able to staff accordingly. And they just know what the traffic's going to look like. And just because people have fast passes for the day doesn't even mean they're going to like show up at the park. Now,
exactly.
I know that's also true for the reservation system, but because it's so dang hard to do everything right now, very few people are just going to not show up unless they live a mile from the Magic Kingdom. Excuse me.
I don't know anybody who would do that.
So those are kind of my thoughts of why I don't think that's going. I mean, it is the perfect system that they can look at metrics and plan accordingly, because again, fast passes are 30 days out. And I know most schedules aren't going to be made more than 2 to 4 weeks out. I mean, everybody who's worked those kind of jobs or still do know that, like, I mean, even when I was at Apple, we didn't get the schedule more than 3 weeks out. So, but like, it still helps them know that, like, hey, like, we're going to have an influx of this, and they can add more hours, add more staff, bring people over from other sections, do whatever they need to do. And it's just too valuable of a metric system for them to just say, oh, we don't need to do that. Now, will it last forever? Maybe not. Maybe they'll, that we've got to get back to where you got to remember, especially sites like touring plans, which I highly recommend if you've never done Disney, but all of that, like that data from all those years is now almost wiped out because everything's different now. Now they've been able to get a system going and been able to tell, but now everything's changing again. Like things are going up. Capacity's been raised, hotels and restaurants are opening. Like things are just going to continue to grow and climb. And so I don't know. That's my thought on the reservation system. Like it could be gone in 6 months. Who knows? But I just feel like it's too valuable for them for it to just be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. And fast passes aren't really, they're not like, they're too real time in order to get correct data. Because like you said, like I could have a fast pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I see that, Space Mountain open and my friends are here. I turn off that and get the Space Mountain. It changes way too rapidly to be able to glean any kind of data from it. Yes, you can be like, hey, 10,000 people made a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train for Thursday. Like we need people there, but that could go down to 3,000 people by Thursday afternoon. So it's too fluid of a situation to base your modeling and staffing and your, that kind of stuff off of. So I agree with you. I think the reservation system is here to stay. Chapek's has said it's here to stay. And as with everything, it is fluid, but I don't see it going anywhere.
No. It better, like when there's no more restrictions at the park, you better just be able to book it, and they're just doing it for a measurable. There better not be,
I agree.
Anyway,
I agree.
That's just me whining and complaining.
No, I'm with you because I've lived it for, since July of last year, having an annual pass and not being able to get a park. I mean, the only reason we're able to go to the parks when we stayed at the Grand Floridian is because we were on property and we counted as a property guest. We wouldn't have been able to go if we were just using our annual pass. So no one knows that more than I. So
yes.
Yes, but like I said, I think once the reservation system will be a mere formality once the park is open to 100% capacity.
Yes. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. So speaking of your annual pass, let's talk about this a little bit. As we mentioned at the top of the show, if you haven't been following, Disneyland, like, they refunded all of their pass holders, and that's been several months ago. And they were like, hey, we've got something great in the works for you. Cool. Crickets since then. They've offered some legacy pass stuff that was like some benefits on maybe some eateries or some eating, and then some merchandise. Anyway, okay, cool. I mean, that's great that they're doing something. And then at Disneyland Paris this week just literally had the rug ripped out from under them. So again, they are selling no more annual passes, and those people that have annual passes are good until their renewal date, and then they cannot renew. So that system is gone as well. Now, what's crazy is, as to my knowledge, they haven't used the same language at Disneyland Paris like they did in Disneyland, meaning like, hey, something great is coming. They just said,
they were just like, we're done.
Right. Now, do I think something's coming? Yes, 100%. Like when you talk about the 12 parks that are all over the world that have Disney stamp on it, there are only 2 in the world that are considered local parks, and that is Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. By far, most people that have an annual pass at Disneyland Paris live within an hour of the park. And so they are really up in arms with their pitchforks. And so, but also excited because they did have annual pass previews this week. Started yesterday. Our friend Tom from Fly Mickey Travel was able to go, and he absolutely had the time of his life. It was surreal, he said, being back in the parks. And so here is what to expect. So fiscal 2022 is October 1, which randomly coincides with the the start of the 50th at Walt Disney World. So let's talk about hours. So I would imagine that before then, they will announce that they are selling annual passes to Walt Disney World again. I have no insider information. That is just purely a gut feel. Like, they are going to have to make a decision for Disneyland before then. They're going to have to make a decision for Disneyland Paris by then. It only makes sense that they're going to make a decision for Walt Disney World there too. Okay, so what does that mean? Is our whole system going to change like theirs? My gut says no. And that is because Walt Disney World is a different monster. It is not known as a locals park. It is definitely the biggest international travel destination in the world.
Correct.
And they aren't hurting by giving people annual passes, but they're also not, they're not Scrooge McDucking all of their money back in the corner. Bob's not counting that many billions because of us annual pass holders.
No.
So here's what I anticipate happening. When they start selling, I think people are going to get a gut punch. And what I mean by that is I have a feeling that they're going to say, okay, you want to pass to Walt Disney World? Well, we were closed down and lost billions with a B dollars. My guess is they're going to be especially at the top tier, anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800 a year.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That wouldn't be unheard of. We got lucky. We just were able to renew ours. We just hit our 60-day window because ours renew in August, and ours, interestingly enough, they're not including the plus in the Platinum Plus package right now because only one of the 2 water parks is open. So the highest level we could get was the Platinum level. But yeah, I mean, ours was about what we paid last year, even though you're supposed to get a discount every time you renew. Right. It was, we could see it even there a little bit in the fact that the discount wasn't as big for the renewal. So I could totally see it. I mean, being $1,500, $1,700 a year, and they know people are going to pay it.
Oh yeah.
Most pass holders are from out of state, so they know basically they're just getting free money. Some of them may come down once, twice a year. But they've got your $1,700, so they'll take it. So I could definitely see it increasing. I think before the pandemic, it was $1,200, $1,300 for out of state, something like that. So yeah, I mean, they've lost billions of dollars. It's definitely going to come back. And there was an email that went out that all but hinted at we're going to start selling annual passes again. I think they said something in August because the email had some sort of verbiage in it that said, starting in August, you'll be able to ... For pass holders. So I see it coming back.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's an international destination. I don't see any way that they stop selling annual passes at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I don't, and I don't think they can change it like they can with the other two parks because they flat out canceled them. You know, I was one of the ones, I had a weird story. I'll try to unpack it very quickly. Way back in the day when they opened Galaxy's Edge, my pass was set to expire on this week. Like, they didn't tell us when the annual pass previews were going to be. And I was super scared that my pass was going to lapse and that I wouldn't get that email and be able to do it. So I flat out I literally used a friend's, actually Matthew's parents, oh gosh, what is it? Sam's Club, and just bought another pass. I was like, I'm not. And so what's funny is then the pandemic hit and I had like 7 months or so, whatever, left on my pass. So I canceled I was one of the ones that took the opportunity to say, hey, and get a little bit money back. Haven't gotten that money back.
Did you get that money back?
That's yet? A different story for a different day. I'm not going to bash Disney. No, I have not gotten it back, but I did get 5 months added onto my annual pass. Well, I did not call and scream. No, Krista, I did not have a cinnamon roll moment. We'll have to unpack that one day. That's just for you, Krista. Love you, mean it. But I was like, I would call every 60 days on the button and no one could ever give me a solid answer. I was like, it's $325. I was like, I've been to Disney 3 times since I canceled that pass. But anyway, the whole thing was I had one lying in wait. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to cancel. I can't go anyway. Might as well get $300 back, which I thought I would use to go to a Disney park. It's still not going to happen. Nope. This is going to be my 4th time going. And I still want to have the money. Maybe
by the 50th, you'll get that money back.
But that cast member was an angel. She was awesome. She was like, again, I wasn't angry or frustrated. I was just like, hey, I just asked to speak to a supervisor, not because I was frustrated, but because nobody could tell me. I had received nothing in writing. I had like no email, no letter. Like, it was just, I would call and they would be like, yeah, we know it's been sent off to the place that like will write you the check and send it to you. And I'm like, yeah, but can somebody, like, is it in the notes? Can I see the notes? Like, I was like, nobody has told. And so finally the supervisor came on and she was like, yes, we don't know what the holdup is. She's like, I get 10 calls like you every day. I'm like, okay. So it's not just like Dave was the last guy. Like, I was the cheapest. My measly $300 was the last one. We can save him for later.
Yeah. Leave him till last.
Anyway, so I had one lying in wait and it was no big deal. So I just canceled it. And so I still have mine. Well, she extended it, which is great. So I won't find out until I think February now. I think it was originally going to be in November, December, January. So 3 months, not whatever I said. So she extended it 3 months, which I didn't ask her to do. She was like, would you love that? And I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to that.
No, I would not love that.
But I think the moral of this long story is that the incremental increases for annual passes that we still all grumbled about are gone. I think it's going to be, okay, you want an annual pass, you're going to pay for it. But to be honest with you, seeing how to take my 2 kiddos and my wife that don't have annual passes was $1,200 for 2 days. You'll pay off that pass pretty darn quick if you just go for, at $200 a day.
Go for a week.
Yeah, $200 a day, it's going to almost pay for itself. So anyway,
what I do wonder about that is, before pre-pandemic, you used to be able to say you went and you bought a 5-day ticket. You used to be able to take that money that you put towards the 5-day ticket and put it towards an annual pass. I can see that going away. It's either, I can see Disney saying, okay, we're going to do the annual pass program, but you're either in or you're out. Like, there's no like, buy this 3-day ticket, decide if you really like Disney, and then we'll let you buy an annual pass and apply that money towards it. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you decide later, you're going to pay $1,700 later. So I can see that part of the annual pass going away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, as somebody who's not local and drives, there are reasons, like a lot of people say, gosh, if you're only going, because we go often, I try to go 3 times a year, but not 3 weeks. I mean, I'll come and maybe do three park days, maybe 4. That's typically how it works. Yeah. And so if I do that 3 times a year, like that was covering it. Well, that was at prices where parks were anywhere from $79 to $130 a day. Well, now it's like almost most days it's $200 a day.
Yeah.
And that's only going to get bigger. Like it's not like things are going to calm down and Disney's going to be like, hey, we're going to lower the prices No, they are trying to get their parks like to have reasonable numbers in them, and the only way they are going to do that is to price some people out. It's just, it's going to turn those people that aren't insane like you and me to going, have to go multiple times a year to maybe it's not an every year trip. Now it's maybe every 3 years just because the price has gone up. But they're a for-profit company. They have to answer to their shareholders. You're not, I understand it. So
I agree.
So, I think we've unpacked everything that we wanted to talk about. Again, this was just kind of like speculation hour with Dave and Brandon. So, but good stuff, man. I mean, things are just moving so fast and changing so quick, so rapidly. It's almost like you have to visit a site, social media daily because things are just changing so fast. So
I agree. I didn't think we were always speculating and joking. Yeah, fireworks are coming back. We hope they're by July 4th. I remember when we started this, we were like, man, we hope we get nighttime spectaculars back by the 50th anniversary. So we've gone from October to fireworks are starting here in 15 days. In 15 days, I will be able to go in my backyard and watch a fireworks display from Disney. So, it's crazy how much it's just changed in 3 months.
It's crazy. And who knows what the next 45 days are going to look like. I can't wait to be there for the 50th. And now I'm extremely hopeful. I've passed cautiously optimistic. Now I'm extremely hopeful for whatever fireworks show that's going to kick off the 50th, that will actually happen the night of the 1st. I'm extremely hopeful that you're going to talk. I call them Disney heroes. I like that Chapek's going to be there, and maybe even, I know Iger's leaving soon, but maybe even Iger will make an appearance. I'm hoping that, they'll all roll out the red carpet for, your Disney heroes to be there. I'm hoping now that the 1st is a big deal, where 3 months ago it kind of felt like, well, it'd be cool for us Disney fans that really love Disney to be there. But now I'm hoping it's going to be a super big deal. And then, of course, again, I will still stand by saying that if you can't be there for opening week, it's going to be better later. I still stand by that because attractions are going to keep opening. At this point, Harmonious has not said that they're launching for the 50th. Just, all that we saw was months ago that it said they're now selling corporate packages that include Harmonious for October. And again, I haven't seen that in months. I haven't
seen anything else about that. Yep.
I know it was legit, but again, they also said no masks. Had to wear masks for Boo Bash. So I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, we have a friend on Clubhouse that will be on the show soon. We just have to work out the details. Who I can't wait for you to meet him. He did most of the artwork for the Moana theme changeover at the Polynesian. And so he is still a Disney animator. He works full time for Disney, but he is also having ridiculous deadlines. And he talked about this 60 plus days ago for Harmonious. So he is doing some kind of animation for what's going to be on the screens at Harmonious.
Nice.
And when he was kind of half asleep and working the other day when the breaking news came on that Epcot was having fireworks, and he was like, wait, what? He said, and they were like, and somebody said Epcot forever. He was like, okay, because I'm still working on stuff for Harmonious. So we'll be excited for you guys to meet him. All right, man. I think we've beat that to death. What do you think?
I think we did. I think we beat that horse for sure.
We did. All right, man. Let's play something we haven't played in a while.
Yeah, let's play something super fun. We haven't played this in a long time, and I thought it would be kind of cool. It's just me and you. We can kind of do some back and forth kind of banter, but I thought it would be fun to play a little bit of overrated or underrated.
Okay, now I originally wanted to call this segment Dope or Nope. So Matthew was definitely not down with this. And I mean, I get it, but like,
yeah,
I love it. I was like, is this dope or is it a nope? But I don't know that works. Overrated, underrated. Cause like some of the rides I wouldn't say are nope. Like they're just not as dope as other rides. So we'll go with underrated, overrated.
I guess, fine. Dope, nope, or dope or nope. It just seems like it's so final. Like if you say nope, that means you just don't like it.
Yes. No soup for you.
No soup for you. Oh goodness.
Okay. Let's start with the heavy hitter. Go for it.
Do it. So we're going to start off in the Magic Kingdom. So here is a pretty heavy hitter for you. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Overrated or underrated?
Man, this is really difficult. No, it's not. Overrated.
I agree.
It's so overrated. So I'll unpack why. It's not a thrill ride.
No.
It's unfortunately it's themed beautifully. The queue is awesome. It's in a great place in the park. I mean, smack dab in the middle of Fantasyland is a great spot for that. It's hidden very well. It's way too short. And the best part about it is when you go into the cave. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I won't spoil it for you if you're never. And then the end of the ride is really kind of cool at the house. But I mean, I know I just said like 47 things I liked about it. So that didn't really make any sense. But no, I mean, like I mean, the best thing about it is the slow-mo video that you get. That's my favorite part.
That's true. That is true. That part is definitely underrated, but I agree with you. The rest of the ride is overrated. I mean, the wait is just way too long for what you get. I mean, I think I timed it once. I think the whole ride may be a minute and 28 seconds, something like that. Like it's so short. And I mean, if you had a fast pass, yes, it was awesome to go on. But like, I mean, if you're waiting in line for that ride for 120 minutes for a minute and 28 seconds of ride, like it's just, to me, it's definitely overrated. It's always crowded. There's never not a wait at that ride. And there's plenty of other things in the park that you could probably do and just go jump on it when the fireworks are happening. That's my advice.
Sneak tip. If that is your all-time favorite ride, go to an after hours event.
Exactly.
That's the best way to experience it.
And even in the after hours event, you still have to wait 10 minutes when everything else is a walk on. So, I mean, I agree. Totally overrated.
Okay, cool. What's next?
I know what you're going to say about this one, but the People Mover.
The People Mover. What is that? Is that ride that was down for 14 years and then they fixed it and then it broke 4 days in a row?
It breaks every day. Yeah, that one.
I kid only because my heart is broken. I don't know, man. This is one of those ones where I have to fall in the. I think it's rated just right. Like, I mean, I can understand why people are like wouldn't love it. I can understand why nuts like me are like over the moon about it. I think it's just right. But like, if people, I don't, so I guess if I have to pick one, I got to say underrated. Like, cause I know it's not a thrill attraction. I know there's nothing like wowing about it, but it's just a unique kind of ride that takes you all over a land. And there's nothing else like it anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. And I would agree. If I had to pick one, I would say it is underrated. People who don't really know about the People Mover would look at it and say, why would I get on that? What's it do? But once you get on it and you realize that it takes you all through Tomorrowland and shows you some of the attractions, sometimes when the lights are on in Space Mountain, you get to see the inside of Space Mountain, and it's just relaxing. It's just a place where you can go and you can relax, get off your feet for 10 or 15 minutes and just take it in. So I think underrated.
Yeah, it's unique. That's cool. All right, cool. Yeah. We buttoned that one up. What's next?
We'll go with Space Mountain.
Ugh.
I know your answer for this.
Crap, I gave it away with my growl. What park?
We're going to go Space Mountain Disney World.
Overrated.
Yeah, I probably would have to agree with you, even though it's one of my favorite rides.
You love that ride.
I do, but I still think it's overrated.
Okay, what makes it overrated for you?
So for me, it's just way too dark in there, and it's way too jerky, and it's way like if you lean the wrong way on the turn, you break your neck. So I've done it. I mean, the last 3 times I've ridden it, I'm like, oh, we're going left. So I lean like into the turn only to go the other way. And I just think that, the theming is cool. The idea of it is cool. The execution is flawed. I just think it's too dark and everybody gets hyped about it. And I don't really think it's a thrill ride either. I just think it's a torture device.
It's a painful experience. It is my wife's favorite ride. And what I was getting ready to say is, Brandon, wait until we go to Disneyland, because that version is incredible. And if you've ever ridden it at Disneyland Paris, that one is the best version out of all of them. But yeah, it's really smooth at the other 2 parks. Like the other 2 parks that I've been to, so Disneyland and Disneyland Paris, super smooth. Now I know that they have one of them has the overlay for Star Wars, but whatever. It's just it's built like a modern day track and not a torture device.
Yeah. And I mean, aside from the cool theming and the building that it's in, it is a roller coaster that you find at a carnival that comes to everybody's.
Thank you.
That it comes to everybody's town in the summertime.
Couldn't agree.
That's why I think it's overrated.
It is what you send your kids on when you're angry with them.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we agree on that one.
All right. Are we switching parks?
Yeah. Switch it up.
All right. Let's go to the Studios of Hollywood. That's not in Hollywood, Florida or Hollywood, California. So it's just a different show, different discussion for a different show. All right. Let's start off with Slinky Dog. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Slinky Dog as being overrated or underrated?
Well, I know that our opinions are going to differ greatly on this one, but I love Slinky Dog. I think it's underrated. I mean, if I would say rated just right, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to say that it's underrated. It's a fun ride. It mixes just the right amount of like drops and dips, and it's fun. It's fun enough to entertain a child, and it's fun enough to entertain me, a child at heart. So I think it's underrated ride. Would I wait the exorbitant amount of times that it usually is to ride it? No. But if I had a fast pass or the line was short, I would never miss Slinky Dog. So I think it's underrated.
I have never been blessed to get a fast pass for that ride. I've ridden it 3 times and I've waited a total of 3 hours to ride that ride. I've never stood in line less than 60 minutes. And so that is not what has hampered the experience for me. That's another one. It's very similar for me to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. What I mean is when you walk into the park and you stand back and you look at it, gorgeous. Again, the queue, incredible, especially when you get inside and, because you're in Andy's backyard and like all the toys and then all the boxes of like all the different things that are just all throughout the queue. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you can look it up. It's the length is good. It's not like insanely short. I love the springy pretend action that they do. It just didn't like, I've never stood in line less than 60 minutes and it's never been worth 60 minutes.
I agree. I mean, like, I think the ride itself is underrated. The wait is overrated. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the lemon hasn't quite been worth the squeeze for me yet. So apologies all around. Like really cool. Like love that land. Love that. And it doesn't help it that, I mean, I know that Midway Mania is in that land too, since they've flipped the entrance, but like that's been there forever. And so to me, when I look at that as a new land, like it stinks that like that's the marquee attraction because the other one is just not great.
Yeah.
And so I wish there was like another, I wish it had the, like what they have in Paris, which is the RC, like little half coaster. And then they have the parachute. I just wish they could have shoved a couple of more attractions in there.
Yeah.
It would have been made it better for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's get to the big guns. Smuggler's Run in Galaxy's Edge. Overrated? Underrated?
I think this attraction is overrated. And here's why. One, the line is always ridiculously long. I know even when it opened, it didn't have fast passes, so I've never experienced Smuggler's Run without waiting for at least an hour. So that's one reason. The second reason is unless you're a pilot, this ride is awful.
Truth.
Like if you're not flying the Millennium Falcon and you're at the beck and call of 2 7-year-olds, this is a traction machine waiting to happen.
It's a bumpy ride.
It's a bumpy ride. It's like it's worse than Space Mountain. So overrated. Even if you're a pilot, it's overrated.
Okay. So overrated, underrated. You are 100% correct.
Yes.
And that is like randomly, I've ridden it 3 times. I've been the pilot every time. Don't know how that's happened. I mean, I will say a couple of the times that I went was very early on in COVID. And so it was like your own party was all that was in there. And so, and less like we don't have a party of 6 with little kids. And so it was always able to be a pilot. The downfall is incredible technology, incredible ride experience. It never changes. That's
correct.
Where they fumbled the ball. Like, and I don't know if this was a time constraint. I don't know if it was just the team, or I don't know, like if they were, maybe their hands were tied in certain things. But I mean, I just think of, and I know this is completely different because it's not interactive, but when I think of Star Tours and see how they've continually, like, what is there, like 50 different options?
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes.
Right. And so like, why can't there be a handful of different experiences within the same game? I'm curious as to know why they didn't write it to be that way.
I agree.
So like you really, like, even if you do an amazing job, it's not going to be any different. Now I have heard that there is a Chewie experience that you can unlock by doing something or be great, or don't even know the details about it because I don't really care. But even then, I think it's just like he growls, right? It's not like,
it's nothing. It's nothing huge. Like you're saying, nothing's going to change whether you get 5 canisters or you get 1 canister. I mean, you still end up at Batuu and you land, Chewie brings you in. So it's the same experience.
Yeah. That's where I just feel like, man, I wish they could have found a way to have 4 alternate endings or, something. Yeah. So like you have or choose your adventure. Like, hey, we've got 2, a ride that we'll get to. I don't want to ruin it yet because we're not there yet, but you get to choose from 2 different options. Like, I mean, that's great. Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. The pinnacle in most people's minds, what hundreds of thousands of people have gotten up at the crack of dawn to break through the gates at 6 a.m. to be able to ride, which thank goodness those days are over. Yeah. And that is, of course, the Rise of the Resistance. Brandon, underrated or overrated?
I'm going to say that this attraction is underrated.
Whoa.
And not from the hype. It's not underrated because of the hype. The hype is certainly there. I think what's underrated about this and what it's hard to appreciate when you ride this attraction is the technology that is put into this attraction that makes the story work. I mean, you're going, spoiler alert if you haven't been on it, but I mean, you're in a car and you're going through a Death Star. You're walking by giant AT-ATs. You're flying through laser cannons. You're getting into a escape ship. Like there's so much technology that makes this attraction work that you're in awe of the fact that you're on it. And then all this stuff works most of the time. but I think it's underrated. I think a better word would be underappreciated as far as this attraction.
Okay. That's good. We're going to stand apart on this one.
All right.
I think I'm going to go a completely different direction. I think for me, it was overhyped. I made sure that, like, I never do this. I've never been so much into any attraction that I would wait and not watch it. But for this one, being a lifelong Star Wars fan, I didn't want to know what it was like. So I read it for the first time. And I think because all I watched or heard was like reaction videos or people talking about how, and so I get there and I think it was overhyped for me when I got there, and I just wasn't blown away. And I think like that wasn't the first time that I was in a trackless vehicle. I know for a lot of people it was. Like, we had the privilege to go to Paris not that long before the pandemic started, and so everybody will get to see that again when Ratatouille opens, but that was the ride that we had ridden that was trackless, and so I was enamored with it. Then I was like, we're like floating. We're floating on the ground. This is crazy. But yeah, I think what it is for me is I don't have as an emotional connection to the new films as I do to the original trilogy. And so since it really doesn't include any of that, I mean, it includes pieces, right? You've got Death Star-ish. You've got certainly like AT-ATs were always a part of the original trilogy. There's pieces there. But I think part of the problem is I should just come clean. I have never looked at Kylo Ren as an intimidating force. He was a whiny little female dog in those films, and I'm like, who's afraid of this guy? He's such a whiny little child, and so he never had that. Like, Darth Vader enters a room, like, I'm worried about my throat. Like, I'm clutching my throat if he walks in the room. When he comes in, I'm like, what are you going to cry and complain about? He's like the Dave version. He's like me. He's like a whiny little dog. And so I think that's why, like, and he's a big part of the ride. There are some cool effects that happen that are so dope, but it wasn't. It's not much different than Smuggler's Run for me. Will I do it every time? Yes, you got to. I mean, that's one of the great things at that park. But I'm not like, if you don't get a reservation, I mean, if you don't get a pass, that's all right. Yeah. You'll get it next time.
I mean, I would agree with that. You know, I'll try to get it, but if not, my world is not crushed. I think my favorite scene, and you talked back to the original. I think my favorite scene in the whole ride, if you haven't been on it, close your ears, spoiler alert, is when you walk out and the stormtroopers are there and you're like on the Star Destroyer. That's the best scene. You know, if I could just walk in there, take some selfies and walk out, I mean, that would be an attraction for me. So that's cool.
And like the first time I rode that, it was how you got there that was the moment that I was like, wait, but that's the door I don't want to spoil. Wait, what? I was like, that's insane. Like, that was the moment that blew me away. The rest of the ride, I was like, I don't care. And then, of course, that door opens and you're like, oh my gosh. I have landed literally in space.
Yes.
So, there are some cool features, there's no doubt. All right, let's head to the next park.
So these are all, I'm interested to see our interpretations of these. So we're going to head over to the experimental prototypical community of tomorrow.
Nice.
And we are going to start with Soarin'. The new Soarin'.
Okay. Underrated or overrated? I will say when it first launched, I was so glad that they updated the projectors. That was a big win. At first it was not, I didn't love it, but now I do. So if I have to say, like, it's right where it needs to be. Like, if you go to Epcot, it is a must do. So I will say underrated, but I think it's rated just perfectly.
Yeah. I think we may differ a little bit here. I think it's overrated.
Oh, okay.
I think to me, it's not, if you're going to Epcot once ever, yes, ride it. Absolutely. Get on it. If you go to Epcot all the time, I can't even tell you the last time I went to Epcot, just me and Krista, and said, let's go on Soarin'. It's more of a thing you do when your friends come in to visit and they want to go on Soarin'. But I think the new one, to me, it just looks too fake for me.
It does. That's
what
what I didn't like about it.
The old one looked real, and this one looks too fake for me. So I think it's overrated.
Yeah.
Unless you're in B1, because B1's the way to go.
For those of you who don't know, you should not ride that ride unless you sit in B row 1. So
B row 1.
And yes, we can confirm that even during pandemic times, if you get the right cast member and ask nicely, they will let you wait.
Yes. Or you just have to say you have 6 or more people. That's the key. Always say you have 6 people, because then that puts you in the right row. But yes.
Don't sit there. The Eiffel Tower looks like has quite the curve. We'll just call it that.
Yes.
All right. Where are we going next?
Right. So next we are going to Frozen Ever After.
Okay.
Overrated or underrated?
First of all, Maelstrom. Where are my people?
Maelstrom.
Definitely
Maelstrom
heartbroken.
Yes.
I mean, come on. The boat would back out to outside before you went down, and they closed that. Like, who in their right mind? That was the dopest part. Okay. That's not the question. I think it's underrated. I really enjoy it. I mean, my kids were huge Frozen fans, so that helps. So I have so many memories tied to like going to that. It's, they did a good job with it. It's not Maelstrom, and that's just a sentimental thing for me. I loved that ride. Yeah. That and Grand Fiesta were like my 2 jams at Epcot. So like, and you can still, like, if you remember the attraction, like it's, the track is still the same.
Yep.
But like, it's done well. And that was one of the first times that I think we really saw that those animatronics, the way they do the faces. Now I know we saw them. I think Mine Train was first, but these were a little bit more interactive. And so I don't know. I think it's a must do. It's underrated for me.
All right. Yeah, for me, I'm going to say it kind of falls into the category of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I think it's overrated. For me, again, and it may be just because I live here, but I don't have to do it. If the line is short, I'll go do it. If people are visiting, I'll go do it. I just think it's very short. It's one of those 1.5-minute rides. I just think it's the technology's cool. The animatronics are cool. I just think the ride itself is overrated.
Yeah, the wait is pretty long without a fast pass.
It is a super cool queue, though.
Yes.
Like once you get inside and go through the queue, and right before you go to get on the ride, if you haven't been on it, we won't ruin it for you, but there's pretty cool interactive stuff in there. So it's a cool queue if you get there, but I think the ride itself is a little overrated. Okay. I'll still get on it. It's a Disney ride. I'll still get on it if people want to get on it. I just think it's overrated.
When your friends come to town, you get stuck riding it.
Yes. Thankfully, they took the plexiglass down, so that'll make it better.
Yoo-hoo.
It was severely overrated with the plexiglass.
Yeah, it was awful. If you didn't get in front row, it was you were looking. You're not. It was like you'd been 4-wheel mudding. That's what it looked like. It was pretty bad.
Yes, it looked pretty awful.
All right, what's next?
What is next? Mission Space.
I'm going to go with, how do you say this? I think they should just have blown it up with Ellen's Energy Adventure.
I agree.
Our daughter loves it. I like doing it with her, like the green. That's all I've ever done. But when they dropped Gary Sinise, it got even worse. It's like the new storyline is just lame. But I guess instead of you landing on Mars, spoiler alert, not that anybody would care about this attraction, but you just kind of take a ride through space.
I think the orange one is still, I don't think they've redid the orange one yet. I think the orange one is still to Mars, because that one's still more intense. I think. I haven't been on the orange one since the last time I got off and I couldn't walk straight for 2 hours. But I think the orange one is still Mars. I could be wrong, but
I'm not going to find out for you.
I'm not going to find out either. I'll ask somebody next time we're there.
Maybe somebody could let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. But I'm going to say, I mean, does anybody really love it? Like, I've never heard anybody go, let's go to Epcot. I can't wait to get on Mission Space.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's rated where it's supposed to be, and that's vomit inducing.
They might as well just put bushes there. Okay, sorry. All right, let's go over to our fourth and final park, and let's start with the cold ride. So Everest, underrated or overrated?
I think this roller coaster is underrated. Now, I say that it's probably rated where it's supposed to be, but I think it's underrated because of, like, this ride is probably one of the best rides in all of Walt Disney World. There never seems to be a huge line for it. Even when it's long, it's 40 minutes, something like that. So I don't know why, but I mean, I could ride Everest 100 times in a row and never get tired of it. So I think that ride is way underrated. People don't like it because it goes backwards at one point. But I think that's the best part of it. So underrated for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. One of the things that Disney is lacking is thrill attractions. And so This is one of the very few, and it's also themed brilliantly for the land that it's in. And it's just a great ride. It's phenomenal. It's entertaining. It's it's well thought through. It's long. And it's also a hidden Mickey if you look from the skies.
It is.
So,
it is indeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty straightforward one for me. I've always loved that ride. I can't ride it 100 times in a row like Brandon can, but I do love that ride. Okay, so let's go land on one that I already know for you, but Kilimanjaro safaris, overrated or underrated?
Well, you know that I'm going to say it's underrated. I love Kilimanjaro safaris. Every time I go to Animal Kingdom, I have to get on the safari. It's never the same. Like, it's not like a ride at Disney. Like, you could take one safari and see nothing, and you could take the very next safari and see every animal there. So most people don't want to get on it because you're going to wait in line for a while, and then the ride itself takes 20-25 minutes, but that's why I love it. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what animals you're going to see. I've gotten off and gotten back on several times before, and 3 times in a row, and it was 3 different experiences. So I know a lot of people don't like it. I know a lot of people skip it. For me, Kilimanjaro safaris is underrated.
Well, Brandon, it's time to break some hearts and some legs. Oh, that got dark. This attraction has never been my jam. Although every time I'm on it, I enjoy it. The queue, although not anything fancy about it, there's a lot of fans and a lot of shade.
There are a lot of fans and shade.
Like that's the best queue at that park, except for Dinosaur, because that is indoors, but we didn't get to experience that in the last 18 months. So, I don't, it's very rarely that I've ridden it at the right time to get those great animal encounters. I know, like, early in the morning is better. And then of course I still haven't done one of the sunset ones. I know those are unique, but again, I don't think they've been around that much either, just because the park closes early again through the pandemic. But yeah, I really enjoyed the original story. I think I'm one of the few that does. I loved the whole poacher story because it kind of did a tie to like the conservation piece, but at the same time, I also never looked at it at the eyes through a small child, where that could be horrifying. That, wait, there's poachers out here that are killing animals with guns and we're looking out for them. Are we going to get hurt? And so I have a feeling that's why they pulled that part of the story. But I really liked that Jabba one. That was my favorite part of it. So I'm overrated for me.
Yeah, I figured that would be overrated for you.
Okay, lastly, can't go without the big guns, and that's Flight of Passage. Underrated or overrated? Oh no.
It's so hard. Like, I think it's rated just where it needs to be. I mean, this ride is amazing. I always will get on it when I'm at Animal Kingdom, as long as the line is not super long, but I think it's rated where it needs to be. If I had to say one, I would say, just because the hype and the line, and the amount of time you have to wait to get on the ride, even if you go 5 minutes before the park closes, I think I'm going to have to say it's overrated. But I love that ride. I would never not ride that ride if someone wants to ride it.
Yeah. This one for me is kind of easy. I personally, I think I wrote it. I don't remember how. I want to say I wrote it for the first time with my daughter, but clearly this memory is not one of the core memories, because I can't remember if I wrote it. But the first time I wrote it, I audibly gasped, and did I say gasped? I audibly gasped.
You probably did that.
I may have audibly gasped. I audibly gasped, and I think I said out loud multiple times, "Oh wow, oh wow!" And so I'll never forget that original feeling of riding that, and just all of the little details that they put from in the ride vehicle. I'll just say that. Yep. Just feeling some of the subtle things that they did to really make it feel like that you are riding a creature. It is mind blowing to me. Like, here's what's going to be something. There's not even a comparison between this and Rise of a Resistance. This smokes it. Everything about this is just, it feels innovative. And I mean, I know they're making new movies, but when you talk about Avatar, what was that movie in 2009? Is that when it came out? Something like that. Like, in here, like, it just was like, wow, it was mind blowing. And that, like, the best queue that I've ever been in. Yeah.
That queue was amazing.
But yeah, the line is not, that's a tough line. That's a challenging line, which without fast passes, I have always done if the park closes at 7:59 and 30 seconds is when we get in line. We'll go over, sit down and have some, what are those little cheeseburger things that we get?
Cheeseburger pockets.
Yes. Like, we'll get those or something, and then just sit there and then run into line. 'Cause then it's like 30-ish minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes quicker, sometimes longer, but I would say it averages like 30 minutes. And that's about the perfect time for that ride. So you're right. It's rated perfectly, but I'll say underrated because it's just, to me, there's no way you can go to Disney for the first time and not go experience that. I agree. You can't do it. Okay, man.
Yeah.
We are never, ever going to get a show under an hour. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's just, we just like to talk too much.
I know, we love Disney and there's so many different things to talk about. Okay, Brandon, where can our fellow friends find us on the interwebs?
Oh, our friends can find us all over the interwebs. They can find us on social media, on Facebook at Another Disney Podcast. They can find us on Twitter at Another Diz Podcast. They can find our YouTube. We'll be at youtube.com/Another Disney Podcast. You can also check out our website, anotherDisneyPodcast.com. There you will find links to our merchandise, to our past shows. Leave us a message there. Send us a message. We'd love to hear what you think is overrated or underrated. With all the things that we talked about today, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, man. Good times.
Good times.
Looking forward to, let's just throw the cat out of the bag. Nobody listens to the end anyway. We will be spending the next week, starting the day this is launched, about 12 minutes from your house.
Yes.
So I'm super excited.
Super excited.
We were trying to take our kids to a vacation destination that had pretty water, and everybody else wanted to do that too. So we ended up in Orlando. I know, shocker, but we really originally were not going to Disney. So we're staying at the Margaritaville Resort. We rented a cottage there. We are so excited to make adult beverages and spend some time with the Palms. So, hey man, I will see you in like 48 hours. That's
48
insane.
Hours. That is insane. My man. And
I love it.
And don't worry, the Margarita Resort does have pretty water in the pools.
Yes, they do. All right, my friend. I will see you soon. To everybody else, thanks for hanging with us.
Thank
Catch
you
next week.
Bicycle.